Welcome to episode 183 of EDH Commander Challenge. I'm your host, BT. I know I'm late to the party, but I'm happy to announce that I have finally gotten both COVID-19 vaccine shots. I did it because a credo of the channel is to, quote, stay safe. And as most of my episodes are filmed at a card store or in my home, I have to be safe so that the people who play on the channel also are safe. Speaking of which, today's episode is dedicated to everyone who has ever played on the channel. Thank you for the time you gave me, as well as taking time out of your schedule to make it happen. Today's episode is brought to you by our EDHCC club. Thank you guys for all your support. We couldn't do what we do without you. Also, if you plan to get some custom sleeves or playmats in the near future, please check out yourplaymat.com to receive 10% off your order, so that not only do you get some cool swag at a cheaper price, but it also helps out the channel at the same time. Now then, let's get into it and check out those opening hands. First, in this corner, with an opening hand of 4 swamps, Jet Medallion, Liliana's Reaver, Noxious Ghoul, and his mono-black general Acererak the Archlich. He is yours truly, the host, BT. Next, in this corner, with an opening hand of a forest, Ash Barrens, Grove of the Burn Willows, Elvish Mystic, Wayfarer's Bauble, Hedron Archive, Mindstone, and his Gruul-style general Svella Ice Shaper. He is the unpredictable Jimmy. Jimmy won the dice roll to start us off, so let's begin our newest card fight. For our first turns, Jimmy plays a forest into a turn 1 Elvish Mystic, while I play a swamp into a turn 1 Soul Ring, which was a sweet top deck by the way, which also lets me go into a turn 1 Jet Medallion. Jimmy plays Grove of the Burn Willows and casts Mindstone, followed by Wayfarer's Bauble, while I play a swamp and cast Noxious Ghoul. Its ETB deals -1/-1 to all non-zombie creatures in play. Before Jimmy's Mystic dies, he taps it for a mana to cycle Ash Barrens. This allows him to grab a mountain from his deck to his hand. Jimmy plays a mountain and casts Song of the Dryads, turning my ghoul into a forest, while I play a swamp and cast Dark Ritual, gaining 3 mana, which I use to cast Grave Pact, as remember, all my spells cost 1 less thanks to my medallion. Next I cast Liliana's Reaver and pass. Jimmy plays Myriad Landscape tapped and casts his general, Svella, and passes. For my turn, I play Strip Mine and sack it to destroy Jimmy's landscape. Then I move into combat and attack Jimmy with my Reaver. He declares no blocks and takes 4 damage. Then, with my Reaver's combat trigger, Jimmy discards a card from his hand, and I put a tapped 2/2 zombie token into play. In my second main phase, I cast my general, Acererak. As I haven't completed the Tomb of Annihilation, it goes to my hand, and I venture into the dungeon, which in this case is the aforementioned Tomb of Annihilation. The first room in the dungeon is the Trapped Entry, which causes both Jimmy and I to lose 1 life. As I have some spare mana, I cast my general a second time, and once again return it to my hand to venture into the dungeon yet again. The next room I enter is the Veils of Fear, which in this case, both Jimmy and I choose to lose 2 life to its effect rather than discarding a card. Then I use my last 2 mana to cast my general a third time, which returns to my hand once more, and I venture into the dungeon again. The third room I enter is the Sandfall Cell. Here, Jimmy sacks his bauble, and I sack my noxious forest. Here I felt the Grave Pact should have triggered, but Jimmy said no, as when the ghoul left the field, it was a land and not a creature. So please let us know in the comments, but for now it was decided that the pact, the Grave Pact of course didn't trigger, and I just passed a turn. Jimmy smirks and says he hopes I complete the dungeon next turn, and casts Defense of the Heart, to which I make one of those looks. He then moves into combat and attacks me with Svella for 2 damage, and passes. For my turn, I play a swamp, and I'm basically locked out of playing creatures, since if I play a third one, the Defense of the Heart will trigger in Jimmy's next turn. So I move into combat and attack Jimmy with my zombie token for 2 damage, and pass. Jimmy starts his turn by casting Timeless Witness. I gain 1 life from his grove for him tapping it for a green mana. With the Witness's ETB, he returns his Myriad Landscape from his graveyard back to his hand, which he then plays it tapped and passes. I start my turn by moving into combat and attacking Jimmy again with my zombie token. He declares no blocks and takes 2 damage. Then, in my second main phase, I cast Phyrexian Arena and pass. Jimmy plays a forest and passes. During my upkeep, I lose 1 life to my arena and draw a card, then I draw 1 for my turn. I play Reliquary Tower, then I move into combat and once again attack with my zombie token. Jimmy again doesn't block and takes 2 damage before I pass. Before my end step, Jimmy uses Svella's ability to make an Icy Manalith token to increase his mana sources. He also sacrifices his landscape to net 2 mountains from his deck into play tapped. Jimmy plays Nykthos Shrine to Nyx and used it to gain 4 green mana, and cast Garruk Primal Hunter. He upticks it right away to make a 3/3 green beast token and passes. During my upkeep, I lose a life to my arena again and draw a card, then draw 1 for my turn. I play a swamp and move into combat and send both my creatures at Garruk. Jimmy has his Witness block the Reaver, and then Garruk takes 2 from my zombie token before I pass. Before the end step, however, Jimmy uses Svella to make another Icy Manalith token. For Jimmy's turn, he uses Nykthos to gain 5 green mana this time to help cast Nyx Bloom Ancient, which triples his mana and makes me a sad panda. Then he uses Svella's second ability and checks his top 4 cards, from which he casts absolutely nothing, because of the top 4 cards, The only spell he got was Blasphemous Act, which is a card that would only help me right now. So he bottoms the cards, and I breathe a temporary sigh of relief. Then he moves into combat and attacks me with his beast token for 3 damage. Then, in his second main phase, he upticks Garruk to make another beast token and passes. Before his end step, I flash in Dictate of Erebos. During my upkeep, once again I lose a life to my arena and draw a card, then draw one for my turn. I play Unholy Grotto, and in a desperate attempt to slow Jimmy down, I tap out and cast Torment of Hailfire, where X is 7. Surprisingly, Jimmy doesn't sacrifice a single permanent, and chooses to take the full extent of the damage, which in this case is 21. All together now, say it with me, #ouch. I then move into combat and attack Jimmy with both my creatures, hoping to end the game. Being at low life, Jimmy is finally forced to block, and blocks both hits with his Ancient blocking my Reaver and his Beast token blocking my Zombie. And due to having 2 triggers for my Dictate and Grave Pact, Jimmy basically loses all of his creatures in play before I pass the turn. Jimmy plays a Forest and recasts his General Svella. Then he upticks Garruk to make another Beast token and passes. During my upkeep, again I lose a life to my arena and draw a card, then draw one for my turn. I then play a Swamp and cast Zombie Master, followed by Lord of the Accursed, before passing. For Jimmy's turn, he uses Nykthos for 5 green mana to help use his General's ability to check his top 4 cards once again. And here, he scores a major hit and casts for free Bane of Progress. With its ETB, it destroys all 8 artifacts and enchantments in play and gains 8 +1/+1 counters. Next, he cashes in on keeping Garruk alive by using its -3 effect to draw cards equal to his strongest powered creature in play, which in this case is obviously the Bane of Progress, and thus Jimmy draws 10 new cards. Wow! Jimmy came to play here. Can almost hear the Miz's theme song while Jimmy's drawing all these cards. Anyways, then he plays a Forest and casts Atali Primal Storm. Then he passes, discarding down to 7 cards. For my turn, I recast my General, and it returns to my hand. Then I get to venture into the dungeon again, and the final chamber is called Cradle of the Death God, which grants me the Atropal, which is a legendary 4/4 Black God horror creature token with Death Touch. And it also completes the dungeon. So I recast my General, who remains on the field now, and pass the turn. Jimmy plays Stomping Ground into play tapped. Then he uses Nykthos for 6 green mana and starts casting some spells, starting with Beast Whisperer, followed by Growing Rites of Itlamok. With its ETB, Jimmy checks his top 4 cards and gets to add Rampaging Balogs from them to his hand and bottoms the other cards. Next he casts Bear Umbra, which he enchants to Atali. Then he moves into combat and attacks with Archlich. This triggers both the Umbra and Archlich himself, untapping Jimmy's lands and has each of us reveal our top card from our deck. This allows Jimmy to cast both of those cards, which in this case are Lightning Greaves and my Death Baron, for free. I declare no blocks and take Archlich's 8 damage. In his second main phase, he then gets to tap his Nykthos for 11 mana and uses 6 of it to cast his Rampaging Balots he just got. This also lets him draw a card thanks to his Whisperer trigger. Then he uses the other 5 mana to cast Gauntlet of Power, calling green to bolster both his mana and creature power. Next he casts Combustible Gearhulk, which lets him draw again via his Whisperer. And with the Hulk's ETB, I choose to have Jimmy mill 3 cards, which in this case are Thran Dynamo, Gilded Lotus, and a Forest. Thus I take 9 damage, equal to the total CMC of the cards. Next, Jimmy moves his Lightning Greaves onto Archlich. During Jimmy's end step, his Growing Rights transform into Itlimoc, Cradle of the Sun. At the same time, I cycle Gempalm Polluter to deal damage to Jimmy equal to the number of zombies in play, which in this case is 4. During my upkeep, I use my Unholy Grottos effect to return my Gempalm to the top of my deck, which I then draw and cycle once more to finish Jimmy off and take the comeback win. This was crazy. I wonder if Svella will become more popular now that Golos is banned. It's hard for me to say which card did the most work for my side. Phyrexian Arena got me draw power, Gempalm Polluter finished the job, but I guess I'd have to say Torment of Hailfire, as it dealt 21 points of damage to Jimmy all by itself. Jimmy played a great game, by the way, here, and I'd say he would have won if he sacrificed his beast tokens to the Hailfire, but that's hindsight. While Garruk was a star here, I have to say, giving him creatures and allowing him to draw 10 cards, the real champion in my opinion was his Defense of the Heart. The card completely shut down my strategy of trying to build my army of zombies until Jimmy almost took the win. Give it our picks? Let us know in the comments below. Also, if you enjoy our content, consider becoming a patron. We'll give you access to such things as entering our prize tournaments, bonus entries into giveaways, your nickname as part of our EDHCC club, and so much more. And once again, don't forget, if you have any custom sleeves you plan to get, perhaps some playmats, don't forget to check out yourplaymat.com to receive 10% off your order, giving you access to cool swag at a cheaper price and also helping out the channel at the same time. That's it for this week. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. It means a lot to me. Stay warm, stay safe, and keep on card gaming. Love you all, and cheers.